Welcome to Adobe InDesign. InDesign is a comprehensive software program that allows you to create output-ready layouts for anything from a simple coupon to an 8-page newsletter to a 100-plus page full-color magazine. If you know about and have been using Photoshop, you're going to find getting acquainted with InDesign a breeze. In fact, at times you may need to remind yourself that you're actually working in InDesign and not Photoshop. The key word to keep in mind with InDesign is layout. That's InDesign's primary function. Its versatility makes it invaluable for hundreds of different types of documents, and we're going to explore a few of them and have some fun learning about this amazing program. So, are you ready? Here we go. Before we get into InDesign, let's first do some file maintenance in your Digital Life folder. Let's make a new folder in your Digital Life folder, and let's name it InDesign. Next, inside the InDesign folder, let's make another folder and name it Lesson 1. Since we will be covering several concepts here at the beginning, we will also need to have some images and/or documents to work with. You will now need to collect a folder from your teacher's Fusion page. Let them direct you where to get it and bring it over, and let's put it in a folder inside Lesson 1 called Lesson 1 Images. After you have extracted the files from the Images folder on your Teacher's Fusion page, you can delete the zip folder. Now, finally, it's time to open InDesign. When you first boot up InDesign, you may see this welcome screen. We're just going to close it right now. We'll talk about it at another time. With InDesign open, go up and click on Window, Workspace, and Default Workspace. What this does is this sets our screen or interface so that everybody's looks the same, so we'll all at least be on the same page. Okay, let's explore this interface for just a moment and compare some of the elements here with what we've learned and used in Photoshop. First of all, on the left you have the toolbox. It is very similar to what we've used before, but there are some other tools in there that we will also be using. At the top you have your selection tools, you have the drawing and editing tools, you have the transform tools, you have the viewing or navigation tools, and then you have the color controls and the window controls at the bottom. Some of these work the same way in Photoshop and InDesign. Others are a little bit different, and we will see some of those differences later on. Over to the right of the window is the panel or palette section. As you can see, there are quite a few of them, and these aren't all of them. If you click on your windows at the top on the menu, you will see that some of them are gateways to many others. Actually, there are 41 in all, but we will only be working with a few of them. At the top of the window is the Control Palette. This is where the Options palette in Photoshop is located, and the Control Palette does something similar, but a little bit different from Photoshop. It changes and is affected by the item on your canvas that's selected, not by the tool that you select or are using. This will be easy for you to see how it works when we get into a document. This gray area in the center is going to be our work area, and though we don't have anything in there right now, this is where everything happens just like it does in Photoshop. So let's open a document by going into File, New, and choosing Document. This window is our new document setup, and we're going to look at just a couple of things on it. The number of pages, we're going to leave it 1. Facing pages, we're going to take the checkbox off if you've got it left on there. And the page size, usually starts out with letter. But this width business and the height down here, 51P0 and 66P0, doesn't mean anything to us right now. What this is a different measurement standard that the printing and the publishing industry use. They're called picas and points. You need to remember those two terms, and we're going to come back to them in just a couple of minutes. Let's take it on faith, though, that the letter-sized document that we're going to be using is going to be our standard letter size. We're going to keep it in portrait, so I'm just going to say OK to open my document. And there it is. Now, what you see right here is the border of your document. You see the margin, and you see this white area behind it. Your shortcut keys for enlarging and reducing are the same in InDesign that they were in Photoshop. So if I hit Control and minus twice, I can move this out and I can see my entire work area. The gray area is just the program interface. What we're interested in is everything that is on the white area. Here is my document, and this white area is called the pasteboard. And it's called the pasteboard because it will hold the different pieces and elements of your document that you want to use, but it will not show them when it comes time to print or publish it. And this can be really, really helpful, and I will explain that a little bit further as we go on. For right now, though, just understand that the pasteboard is kind of a work area, and we're going to use it quite a bit in that way. I'm going to move back to my full screen by holding down Control and 0, and now I have my document again. Now, do you remember the picas and the points that I mentioned earlier? Let's take a look at your ruler. If your ruler is not turned on, you can get to it by going to View and Show Rulers right here. If it's turned on, it says Hide Rulers, and you don't need to do anything. But I've got this ruler going on, and I've got some numbers up here that don't make a lot of sense to me because I know that this is a letter-sized document. I know that a letter-sized document is 8.5 inches by 11 inches, but this doesn't look anything like 8.5 inches. Point to the ruler and right-click, and you will see that the selection is picas. So in other words, the measurement size that is in force right now and is the default in InDesign is picas. If I change this to inches, there is my 8.5. If I change this to points, there's a bunch of them. That's because points are a breakdown of picas. Now, if you look at this closely again, you'll see that there are 6 picas to an inch. There are 12 points to a pica, or there are 72 points to an inch. And now that you're totally confused with that, actually it's pretty simple math. But what we want to know is, what do we use? Do we use picas, points, or inches? Well, most of the time we're going to be using picas, but occasionally we will use inches. And that's what we're going to start out with. So I'm going to change this to inches. Now, something interesting. If you look over here on the vertical ruler, you will see that this, if you point to it, is in picas, while my horizontal ruler is in inches because we just changed it to inches. InDesign allows this because for print standards and for different types of jobs, sometimes they need, the designers need both. In our instance, we're never going to have them to be different. So if you ever change the horizontal ruler to inches or picas, you need to make sure that the vertical ruler is the same. So let's change this one to inches as well. And you can see that it is now in inches. Okay, we haven't done a lot with this document, but we're going to go ahead and save it and close it, and I want you to see how that is done. It's pretty normal, it's pretty easy, but let's do it anyway. Okay, so if we wanted to save this particular document, we're going to come up to File, and as this is the first time saved, we're going to do a Save As, and we're going to save this into our Find Our Digital Life folder, and we're going to save this into our InDesign folder, and we're going to save this in our Lesson 1 folder, and we're going to save it right here next to Lesson 1 Images folder. Now, before we do anything, I want you to look down here and see the extension that is on the file name. Right now it's Untitled 2 because yours may say Untitled 1 because we haven't named it. So I'm going to name it I'm going to name it Intro. And you will see that the extension is INDD, stands for InDesign Document. Now, one thing that you need to understand about this, because this is an InDesign document, that means that you cannot, in this format, you cannot open it unless you are using an InDesign program to open it. In other words, if you were to take this document and put it on your flash drive and take it to another machine and try to open it, if that computer did not have InDesign on it, you would not be allowed to open it. It wouldn't read it, wouldn't be able to. So you need to understand that. Since we have Citrix available to us anywhere in the universe, as long as you have your username, then you should be able to get to your documents in your profiles. So let's go ahead and save. And there you go. And we can go ahead and close, File, Close, and we're back to that. And that is all there is to this.